am so excited to offer this tutorial to you right now. I have filmed it a couple of times, but I think I've got it now. So if you've made it to this video, it is because you have purchased one of my DIY beading kits. I am super excited by this, by the way. It has been a dream to make this happen. So the fact that you are here seeing this video means I'm actually following my dream. So yes, we are doing it together. Thank you so much for your purchase. So I want to show you what's inside of here. This very first video is going to be for making this type of earring. So we are going to, the lesson that you are going to be learning right now is how to get these beads onto this little frame right here. In the tutorial coming up, you're going to see two versions of it. One, it's going to be done with the pony beads and yarn. And then the other one is going to be done with the actual beads themselves. And the reason why I want to do it with the pony beads as well is because when you see the tutorial of it done with just the seed beads, they're very small. The thread is very thin, and it is easy to not see what's going on. It's easy to make mistakes. So I want to show you the option of how to do it much larger, and hopefully that will be easier for you to pick up the concept. You can watch that one first, watch it all the way through, and then go ahead and go back to the original tutorial. So it's going to show you how to put it on the frame. Now, what's inside of your kits? When you open your kit, you're going to receive these items here. Pull this out and then unwrap it. This is a piece of 5x7 polar fleece and is going to be used as your bead mat so that your beads don't roll all over the place while you are doing your work. Then we have thread. This is the Nymo size D nylon thread. Then we have your findings. There are two of the teardrop shape. The ear wires are a 925 plated silver with the rubber earring backs on here. This is if you chose silver. If you chose gold, then they will be 18 karat gold plated ear wires. Then we have 5 grams of black size 11 beads, 5 grams of tangerine size 11 beads, and then 5 grams of the glow-in-the-dark crystal beads. So that is everything that you need in your kit to create these beautiful earrings. But first, what I want to show you is how to get the beads onto the frame. Okay, first things that I want to talk to you about is bead board. So you will be receiving a piece of polar fleece inside of your kit that you can bead on top of. The only problem with this is that you can't take it anywhere. It's very, very floppy. So it works great if you are just putting it on the table and you plan on finishing that project. But if you don't have all of the time in the world to finish the project, you don't know how long it's going to take you, having a bead board might be really, really helpful. So I do have a tutorial on how to make these yourself, but if you don't want to make it yourself, you can also purchase one from me or online Amazon. There's a lot of different options. So this is a 5x7, same polar fleece that is on the sheets that you guys are getting. This is a 5x7 size. This is an 8x10 size. The 8x10 is my personal favorite because when I am making rainbow earrings, it gives me the opportunity to put all 9 colors here at the top and still do all the work that I need. I need a lot of space when I work, so having an 8x10 that I can either go from here or go this way is really helpful. It also means that I can go from watching a movie and sitting with it to going to a table, and everything that I need is right here. It also stacks really nicely with other things if I need to just put it on a bookshelf, put it away, put it in a drawer. Obviously, if you jostle it back and forth, the beads will get mixed, but for the most part, it's a really solid option. So consider that if you are going to make more than one pair of earrings, or if you think that it might take you a little bit longer, getting a bead board to keep everything safe. The other option would be to take the piece of polar fleece that you are getting and put it onto a plate, put it onto a board. The polar fleece has a great just ability to stick to things. So you could place it onto something and help prevent that movement as well. So you have that. We are going to be working on the 8x10 frame to show you with pony beads how you are going to get the beads onto your teardrop. So here is exactly how I set up the boards. These are going to be, much larger than our regular beads because they're pony beads, but I go ahead and I just pour them on into the side. Then I am using these plastic yarn needles just to get everything on to the frame. So then I will just have my needle here. You do need a pair of scissors in order to cut the thread. So I have those there. And then I am going to be using a shower curtain ring. In terms of sizing with the pony beads, it's very similar to what you're going to be doing with the teardrop shape in regards to the beads that you have with that, the size 11 seed beads. Then I found this yarn at the dollar store, so it's very simple to use. Typically, we are going to, of course, we've got to try to find the end of it. Typically, what we are going to do is be looking for 2 arms length. At least for me, with these types of earrings, it's about 1 full arm span. So from finger to finger, if you stretch all the way across, that is about what you will need for this pair of earrings. Since I'm only doing the cast on to this frame, I am not needing as much, but we'll make it a little bit longer so that you can see extra. And then you're just going to cut it. So you're going to pull the yarn your full arm span and maybe add 6 inches after that. That's probably a really good rule of thumb. If you end up needing more thread in the project, you will cast on another string, another piece of thread by square knotting it. So I will show you that as well. So here's what you need. That's it. That's all you need to get started. For the actual frame, obviously, you're going to have orange beads, black beads, and then the glow-in-the-dark beads. It doesn't matter whether or not you do them this way or this way. You get to choose how that goes. How I start is by bringing this in. You're always going to need to have a little bit of a tail in order to cast off. I will start with the square knot first. So I'm going over with the tail, under, pull it tight, and then the tail part needs to be on top again, and then pull it tight again. That is what creates the square knot. So no matter now how hard you pull, it will hold that knot, right? It's going to slide around a little bit just because this is plastic, and that is okay. But the knot itself is not going to come undone. From here, I set it down. I've never actually tried to thread a yarn needle, so hopefully it's not too difficult. I love how it just spreads itself out though. Okay, so you get that through. Give yourself a bunch of space. Because the nylon thread does have a tendency to want to get knotted up, make sure that you bring this tail pretty long so that you are reducing how much thread you are actually working with. If you end up working with a lot of thread, it is going to get tangled. You are going to be frustrated. It also, nylon is made similar to this yarn. When you untwist it, you can see that it's made of a lot of different threads twisted together. That's the same with nylon. And because the beading needles are so thin and so sharp, they can pierce through like the middle of this. They can pierce through. Of course, I can't do it now with the yarn. They'll go through like this when you are going back up in the fringe. So you want to make sure if you have too much yarn, that is going to lead to things getting knotted. It's inevitable to have the needle pierce through. It almost always does, but we try to minimize that as much as possible. So let's get started. I always put it upside down whenever I am working. So even though this is how the earring would sit, right? This is where the ear wire would be. When I go to cast the beads on, I flip it upside down. It's easier for me to work upside down. And then you are going to get started with 2 beads at first, and that is the easiest way to cast them on, by the way, and get the beads onto the needle, is to just push. Go through like that. Push and go through like that. You can go through and try to stab them through like this. It is, with the pony beads, it's much easier. With the real beads, it's much harder. When you go through this, you don't actually get any of the beads on the needle. So if you just hit the side like that, you are good to go. For the most part, we are going to go from back to front. So just remember that. When I go through back to front, I tend to hold on to the frame itself, pull all the way through this, because the goal is to get the beads to sit directly on top of this frame. We want them just to be sideways like this, sitting directly on top of the frame. Then now that we're on the front of it, we are going to go from the bottom through the top of the very first bead and pull it all the way through. Now you can see that there are 2 lines right here. It usually means that this bead, when you only have one, that this one is diagonal, and that is fine. You want to make it tight here. This one's already starting to lay flat, which is great. We now need to get this one to lay flat. So to do that, we're going to go top to bottom here. So I tend to hold this tight so that way the beads don't move anywhere. So we're going to go top to bottom in the second, pull it all the way through. Then we're going to let this go, pull that through. At this point in time, it forces both of them to be diagonal. So what we are going to do again is go from bottom to top of that first bead again, like this. And actually, I'm going to put this on the front. I like to have all of my thread on the same side. Set this down. When you pull this tight, you may have to adjust these 2 beads because you want to tighten the thread all the way through. If it is loose, these now have become the base of your earrings. The fringe will end up coming all the way through here. So if you have these loose, it's going to create a gap here and it's going to make it harder to keep your beads tight. So try to keep this thread as tight as possible. Then we're going to go the next bead. Now you only need 1. And again, we're going to go back to front. So I like to hold it coming through like this. Get that bead here on top. You can, even when it's here and a little bit floppy, because your thread is on the front, you can now go from bottom to top, come all the way through. It's already looped around here, and then you're just going to pull tight, and it will automatically force it around. So we pull tight, and then we're going to get another bead on. Same thing, go back to front. Pull all the way through, bottom to top, shoop, like this. And then even if you pull here, the more you tighten, it's going to automatically go over that direction. Let's do it again. 1 bead on, back to front. Pull all the way through, sitting right here, bottom to top. Pull it through. All right, and then we just keep going. Next bead, flip that on there, back to front, come all the way through with that. Right now it's just floating around, but the thread is on the front. We're gonna go bottom to top, whoop, come all the way through, see that nice loop, and then get it tightened up there. I think the earrings that we have 11. I think they have 11 rows. So we can show you what that looks like with 11. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we'll put 4 more on. And if you find, and this does happen, where when you stretch, they're at different widths, it means that these ones are not as tight. So what I will do is I'll hold it tight and I will scoot them over. So that way it tightens everything up and these are evenly spaced. We're going to grab another one, back to front like this, and then bottom through the top. Pull it through, pull it tight, keep going. Whoop. And that is fine. If it comes through, that happens. Just push it and then put it on the other side. And then just slide this through. If you find that before this one is tightened, this one has already loosened up, it's cool. Just tighten it like that. And then tighten the next one. And it's fine. All fixed. Things like this happen all the time. Just stay aware of it. The thing that I do love about beading is that you have to be really present when you do it. You can't really be anywhere else. Yes, you can watch movies, or rather listen to movies, listen to podcasts. You can do a lot of different things while it is happening, but you still have to remain present. You have to check, see where your beads are. There's a lot of counting here, like a lot of counting. So you are going to need to remain as present as possible. Last one, in order to make sure that you actually get the beads on properly. So this is what 11 looks like on here. So this is very, very similar to what the orange and black is going to look like. Okay, so once you've got everything on, here you are. The hardest part, well, this is usually everyone's hardest part, is over. From here, you are going to begin your fringe. And on your pattern, it's going to tell you exactly how many black, how many orange, how many clear, and this could be with any color. It's going to tell you exactly how to do this. This middle part says, I am confident in Morse code. You don't have to do this. You could just continue any way you want. You could do a different design. You actually don't even have to do this design at all. But this is the part that is usually the hardest. So let me show you what you do from here. So you're ready to go. Everything is tight. You may have to straighten things out. With the orange, there is a very clear middle. So this one is the middle. So you want to make sure that you line it up before you get started. You will be able to adjust later, but it's easier to do it earlier on. So from here, I usually switch hands. I use my right hand to cast the beads on, but I use my left hand to do all of the fringe. So let's say there are 8 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? We've got 8 beads on. Let's say that that is our fringe for the very first one. You are going to pull everything through like this, then leave out just one. That's it, the very last one. Leave that one out. And then what you're going to do is pull the needle all the way through all the beads that you just did and the last one. So we're gonna slide through, and you do have to pull this side down in order to pull the yarn down to the bottom of the bead to create room for the needle. So we'll come all the way through, pull it all the way through, and then you'll want to hold on to this very bottom bead and then pull. And that is going to shrink everything up. It's going to clean everything up on the inside and make it so this is still flexible, but strong. We want to make sure that there is very little gap here. Now, what you're going to need to watch is that these things are not too tight. If you do it too tight, see how it gets really bunched up and it sticks out and it doesn't make it very feathery. So you'll want to tug down just a little bit to create a little bit of space. What I normally do is roll my hands down. See how there's a gap? That's going to show you when you go to make your earrings whether or not there's going to be a gap at the top. So the goal is somewhere in the middle. You don't want any gaps here. So you need it to be loose so that it's not sticking straight out, but not so loose that it's creating gaps. So I usually just hold this last bead, tug on it. Now, from here, where you're going to go is down through the very next bead. So we're going to go down just like this, and this begins the next layer of fringe. So let's say if we did 8 over here, because it's on a circle, it's very naturally going to go a little bit longer. But let's say there are 10 beads on the second row. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 beads. Pull them all the way through. So it's naturally a little bit longer. And see, even though we only added 2, it looks like we have 4 because this is coming down and there's a little bit of a gap here. So remember to move this one down, get it out of the way, hold the yarn down so that it creates tension here. Because what that's going to do is it's going to make this a little bit tighter, and it's going to pull it down to the bottom of the bead versus floating. So then the likelihood of you actually stabbing the thread on the way back up is lessened. So we're going to pull this all the way back up. Sometimes it doesn't go through that last bead right away, or you've got too many beads on here. That happens especially when you're in the middle. So you can pull this through, pull these down a little bit, and then go through that last one. That's totally fine. And then hold on to that bottom bead again and pull it through like that. Now, how you decide to leave these is kind of your choice. It looks cool when they are done perfectly like this, you know, where they hold. This doesn't always happen with the little beads. When you look at the orange and black, a lot of them are just diagonal. You won't even notice because the beads are so little. If you want them all to hang down directly that way, like this, that's fine. You just have to adjust them so that that happens. So then this tail is getting really, really close here. So I want to pull that through so that I eliminate the potential for getting it stuck. And then we're going to go back down through this. So if we did 8 the first time and 10 the second time, let's do 12. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oop. How many fell off? So that is 8. I'm going to move them 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Again, pull them all the way through till they get to the frame. Then just pull one down, create some tension. I got to turn this just a little bit. Create some tension, pull those back up, and go all the way back through the top. See how I've pushed it all the way through and I can see the top, but it's not quite enough to grab it. You can then just pull some of these beads off the bottom, and then you have enough to push through. And then go ahead and pull all the way. Hold on to that very bottom bead, and there you go. And then you're going to go back through the next one. And you're just going to keep doing that. Follow the pattern, get all the way through it. When you get to the end and you do the last bit, that is where you are going to create a square knot. And I will show you that directly on the tutorial that happens with the black and orange beads automatically. For here, we don't need, but this is how you are going to do it. If you, let's say, run out of thread, you are going to just take another piece of thread, do the same square knot that we did at the front. You are going to want to apply a little bit of glue. I love the Hypo Cement for jewelry. You'll put a tiny bit on the knot, cut it, not super close to the knot, but you want to leave a little bit. Cut it and then run it through like normal. That does happen occasionally where you thought you had all of the thread that you needed and you don't. This right here where it gets curly is very, very common because of how much we are threading through here. So what you will want to do is hold it up and help untwist it. If you leave it where it's all curled in on itself, the likelihood of it getting knotted, extremely high. So you have to monitor your thread, monitor your fringe, make sure things are not too tight, make sure things are not too loose. That way they can, well, the pony beads are a little bit harder, but that way they can start hanging down flat. But that's it. Let's get over to the actual black, orange, and clear bead tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this.